All right, hello guys. We are here at Token2049 Dubai 2025 with the Arthur Hayes from Maelstrom. How are you doing, Arthur?
Excellent.
Yeah, it's really good because back in December 2024, we did have an interview with Arthur, and so much has happened in the past couple of months. We just wanted to hear and catch up with Arthur and hear his insights on what's going to happen next in the crypto market. Yeah. So first off, Arthur, I do want to ask you. I know everyone's been talking about tariffs, right? And then people are expecting the Fed to kind of lower interest rates and eventually, hopefully, shift from quantitative tightening to QE. And I would like to know, how do you think this is going to play out in the next couple of months and ultimately affect the Bitcoin price?
So I just got off main stage and I gave a presentation about how this period of instability in the bond market after Liberation Day, when Trump unveiled these very high tariffs, is similar to what we were experiencing in the third quarter of 2022, when there also was a bond market meltdown. Stocks were down, crypto was down to the FTX collapse. And again, people were looking for, when is the Fed going to cut? When are they going to stop hiking interest rate? When are they going to stop QT? When are they going to start QE? And they missed what was really happening was that the Treasury is the driver of monetary easing, not the Fed. So 2022, Janet Yellen engineered a policy whereby she issued more Treasury bills, bonds with less than 1 year maturity, over bonds with a longer maturity debt, and that drained the reverse repo program, which released $2.5 trillion of liquidity into the markets. And if you looked at any asset from December of 2022 till early 2025, they're up. Bitcoin was up 6x, stocks doubled, gold was up, everything risk assets were up because all this liquidity was released into the markets via a treasury policy, which in and of itself was not quantitative easing. So, your question is asking, when is the Fed going to change its hawkish stance on monetary policy, start printing money like we know how they do with quantitative easing? And again, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. However, what we do have is another Treasury policy called the buyback policy that Bessent talked about in a recent Bloomberg interview in April, I think 10th or 11th. And he said, I've got this thing called a buyback, and I can make sure the Treasury market is well functioning. And what does that mean? Well, the U.S. government deficit is increasing. Therefore, he's going to have to issue more bonds, creating more dollars in the world, and find somebody to buy that debt. And he's got these tools to be able to do it. It's not quantitative easing like we understand it, but the second order effect is liquidity will be added to the markets. And similar to December 2022, April 2025 is a low in the markets, and we should be buying everything because they have basically told us we will not let the bond market fail. We will not let volatility increase. We will do whatever it takes, we being the Treasury, to make sure that we have a price-insensitive buyer of all this debt that we have to issue. So don't forget about the Fed. It's all about the U.S. Treasury. Don't stop investing in crypto because Powell is saying hawkish things. Bessent says he's got you.
Amazing. Okay, that's quite bullish. So given that, right, I know a lot of KOLs, people have been talking about altcoin season, and I think we can all agree that it hasn't really come in the magnitude that it has before. Do you think with all this new global liquidity coming into risk assets, we will finally get an altcoin season?
Well, we have had an altcoin season. It just depends on what you invested in. Hyperliquid went from $3 to 30, right? Yeah. 10x move, and multiple $billion market cap coin. Now, obviously, I think what's happened is 2023, 2024, we had a lot of these high FDV, low float, VC-backed dog shit projects that launched these very, very high valuations, and then mathematically, it's very hard for that to go up 10, 100x, even if we have a very favorable monetary environment. And so that's why a lot of altcoins have not done so well, because none of these have clients, they don't have revenues, they have no profits, and therefore these projects are just shit. And that's why they've gone down. So we have had an altcoin season, you just bought the wrong shit. So I think Bitcoin dominance continues to go up to maybe 70%, and then we rotate into high quality, alts that have already launched, and then we'll have a new meta narrative on something new and shiny that we all want to invest in. I don't know what that's going to be.
Yeah. But if I had to kind of pick your brains, right, I know meme coins, we had that season. What do you think is the next shiny thing?
Well, I think we're going to go back to what I've been, not me, but some other people call fundamental season, which is cash flows, right? There are a very small set of projects that have a lot of users. These users spend real money on a product or a service, and then that money goes from the project to us as a token holder. Very, very small universe of projects that are like that. I think we're going to rediscover this love for actually making real money out of tokens, and those projects are going to do very well. So what we're looking at Maelstrom, looking at Pendle, that's a big position of ours, looking at EtherFi, they're building a neobank, they just launched their new cash card. These are the types of products that have real clients spending real money on a real product or service, and this money is going to come back to us as token holders. We're going to reward those projects in this next run higher, I believe.
Understood. So it's like kind of less hype, but more long-term, real revenue, real business
Correct.
type of models.
I mean, we've been doing this for almost 15 years. I think we've gone through all the very speculative cycles, and now we're going to be like, okay, show me the motherfucking money. I want it in my portfolio, not at your protocol level bullshit or spending money at spending your VC money at a bunch of parties. Like, how am I getting rich?
Yeah, that's true, right? Give back to the token holders, the
Yeah.
people who supported you early on.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I do want to shift topics because I know you talk about this a lot. Last time we talked about Trump coming into office and then how he's going to actually implement the Bitcoin strategic reserve. Now he did it, although it's a little bit different from what he proposed. And I know you actually talk about a very sophisticated way that they can actually do it. But now that it's actually in, right? What do you think is next for Trump and his administration to kind of continue, I would say, with this policy of a strategic and digital asset reserve?
Well, I mean, the question is whether or not he's going to print money to buy Bitcoin. I don't think that's politically a smart strategy because there's a lot of people in the U.S. who have no financial assets. A lot of those people voted for Trump. And if Trump says I'm going to increase inflation and the money supply to go pump the bags of a bunch of Bitcoin people, I just don't think that's a good strategy. I don't think we want the government owning a lot of Bitcoin because they buy it for a political reason and they sell it for a political reason. It has nothing to do with the price or the underlying tech or any of that sort of thing. So it's great that the U.S. government decided not to sell any of the Bitcoin they seize from people, but I don't think we should keep focusing on this. Oh, let's push them to print money and buy Bitcoin. No, if you're going to get politically active, say, hey, I want you to put in some legislation that gives freedom for everyone to develop Bitcoin, to be able to be a developer of DeFi and not be afraid that you're going to get sanctioned or something like that. Have freedom of speech for crypto. Those are the types of things that we should be championing, not let's push the U.S. government to spend some money and buy some Bitcoin. Go for the harder thing that gives us sort of a moat, similar to like tech companies in the early 90s in the United States, right? They lobbied for a particular way that their business is treated in terms of the content on their platform, which basically allowed them to do whatever they wanted without regulatory oversight. Why are we focused on like buying Bitcoin? Focus on something harder. Instead of, fuck that. Let's just try to get something more positive in terms of regulatory stances, not just pick your large company and they have some sort of nice moat around their business.
Yeah, that's absolutely on point. So given that, I know the US SEC was very harsh on crypto, right, before Trump, and now they're kind of easing in. Do you think this whole narrative made in USA coins and all that American, right, based projects will flourish in the next couple of years, given that regulation, actually gets better?
I think it's rhetoric, and again, if you've studied what Trump has done, he says boastful things that get you interested in what he does. The actual fact could be a lot different, and so Made in America coin is just the same rhetoric as Made in America cars or Made in America semiconductors. Whether that actually happens, that's up to politics. Again, I think a lot of projects, if they're focused on the wrong thing, I'm going to go and lobby the Trump organization or the Trump administration to put this particular rule and that benefits me over the other, that's the wrong strategy because, things could happen. In 2026, the Democrats could win, or 2028, the Democrat could win the presidency. Then you're back at square one. You've not actually done anything that's actually given a real playing field for everyone to try to succeed. And so I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, understood. Besides America, right, what other regions, especially, let's say Korea, right, or other, I would say, Asian markets, do you think will continue to, I would say, grow in terms of crypto adoption?
No, I mean, obviously, Korea is the number one trading market for crypto globally on a per-client basis. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how the crypto people show up for the upcoming presidential election, whether or not the new candidates are going to be pro-crypto or anti-crypto. There was a tax bill that got delayed, obviously, in December. What's going to happen with that? And so I should hope that your Korean listeners become politically active and make sure that whoever they vote for in the president has their interests at heart so that, this is a great opportunity for the marginal young Korean crypto enthusiasts to determine how their country is run.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the Korean population, of course, that's into crypto is young people. So I think with the missing president in Korea, that's a really big opportunity to symbolize, the movement of how they perceive the next things. Yeah. Okay. Besides all of this macro stuff, we also would like to know, what you have been working on at the Maelstrom and just what you do personally as well.
So what are we working on? We're not doing as many deals per se, but we are starting to spin up a small group to look at buyouts of crypto businesses that provide services that have high cash flows that are unloved by the market or they're not really known. And so we've got a few targets that we're working on, and you'll hear more about that business initiative as if we do a deal in the near future. And personally, I play a lot of tennis. It's tennis season now. I'll be back to skiing in a few months in the southern hemisphere. So yeah, just hanging out, being healthy, and enjoying the bull market.
Yeah, I know you go skiing a lot because you write about that in your blog, so it's amazing. Yeah. Where do you want to go next in terms of your physical activities, like sports?
I want to get better at kite surfing. So I find it difficult. It's really, really fun, and it's a good challenge. And so I'm enjoying learning how to do that.
Yeah. You also wrote about that too, right, as an analogy. Yeah,
Exactly.
it seems really difficult, actually.
Yeah. It's fun, though.
Yeah.
Get a kite attached to you, getting blown about. Yeah, it's fun. I love it.
Okay, cool. Is there anything else you would like to say to your Korean audience?
Buy more Bitcoin.
That's it. Very simple. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Arthur.
Thanks for having me.